Today we are tackling the old fuel cell versus Lysate cell debate. The fuel cell is a green rarity item which, when you pick it up, will grant you an additional charge for your equipment item, as well as reduce the cooldown by 15% plus 15% per stack. The number of fuel cells you have corresponds to the number of equipment charges. So as you can see here, with 21 fuel cells, we're about to light this place up like the 4th of July with this missile launcher. On the other hand, the Lysate cell, which is the void counterpart to this item, will instead grant you an additional charge of your special skill. And note that this does not come with a cooldown reduction. Lastly, just like every other void item, the Lysate cell will corrupt any fuel cells in your inventory and any ones that you pick up afterwards. One last thing to keep in mind is that when you corrupt your fuel cells with a Lysate cell, any remaining charges for the equipment that you haven't used will stay with you. So as you can see here, there's still a couple of charges of the missile launcher remaining. So now that we know a little bit about each of these items, which one is better? While a lot of the other void items are pretty cut and dry for which is better, when to keep a fuel cell versus picking up a Lysate cell and corrupting is a little more complex, since it really varies from character to character and how valuable their special skill is, as well as which equipment you currently have in possession. In general, though, as rule of thumb, if you are playing as Capitan, Multi, or Void Fiend, you definitely do not want to pick up the Lysate cell because their special skills just do not synergize well with the Lysate cell, and it's pretty much pointless. On the other hand, where the Lysate cell comes in handy and synergizes well is with survivors like NG, where you get an extra turret, Merc, where you get an extra charge of eviscerate or slicing winds, Schmacrid, whose epidemic is super useful and you definitely want an extra charge of that, Bandito, especially with Desperado, Huntress with Ballista, Rex's Tangling Growth, Railgunner's Charge Shot, especially the Cryo, Loader's Thunderslam or the little bippity boppers, or Commando's Rapid Fire Stun Shot. One thing to note with Engineer in particular is that you cannot ever have more than 3 turrets. So once you have one Lysate cell, that's really all you need. The rest of the stacks simply allow you to just place another one as soon as one has died, so not really as useful. So if you are playing multiplayer with a couple amigos, it's generally better to give extra Lysate cells to other teammates rather than stacking them as NG. While in general it's pretty consistently good to pick up a Lysate cell on those aforementioned survivors, if you are rocking a build that is very equipment dependent on doing damage, then you kind of have to weigh your options and determine if it's better to keep that damage or if you do more with an extra charge of your special. A few examples of these situations where you're probably better off keeping the fuel cell is when you're rocking either a Royal Capacitor or a Blast Shower and you have the Runels and Kajaros bands. Since Capacitor has a guaranteed proc for them and Blast Shower allows you to recharge them on command if you have an equipment charged. A couple other examples are when you have Disposable Missile Launcher with Pocket ICBM, Ocular HUD with Shatter Spleen in particular, but also Predatory Instincts or Harvester Scythe, and spare drone parts with the Backup. Keep in mind that there are also some equipments that just do not work well with fuel cell, and having an extra charge is pretty much useless. These include the eccentric vase, the remote caffeinator, mom's credit card, the radar scanner, crowdfunder, and the trophy hunter's tricorn. If you plan on sticking with any of these equipment and you happen to come across a Lysate cell, then pick it up, because having extra charges of these equipment with a fuel cell is no bueno. Anyways, that's pretty much all there is to it. Thanks for tuning on in, and we'll catch you next time. Adios, amigos.